This is an epigenic species. What it means is that it lives on a horizontal surface, and the fresh leaf matter that is uncomposted, fresh, papaya peels, compost that is not yet composted, it eats it in that stage. It breaks it down. Basically, they're eating up that top leaf litter, and they're only bringing it like 6 inches down. 6 to 18 inches maybe. And what they mean by the mineral surface of the soil is when you grow plants on the surface here, there's minerals all the way down for however hundred so many feet there's minerals in the earth. But what's available to the plants is only in the topsoil. So these worms only pull the undecomposed litter into the topsoil and spread it out amongst. Right now, you see no leaf litter on here, you see dry, dead ground. None of those worms are going to live here until we create an environment for them. That's what we're talking about here, is creating an environment that's healthy for these worms to live in. So that's what all these first 6 months, what we're doing right now, is we're creating a support ecosystem to create these things being able to live here. Since they are so susceptible to predators, we're not going to have chickens around, we're going to baby them, we're going to nurture them, we're going to keep ideal conditions for them. Partially decomposed litter, what has that been decomposed by? Mr. Petito right here. So these guys are chewing it up on the surface, breaking it down into the first thing. Now you have this Amniothus gracilis, which is the big worm, come to the surface to feed on partially decomposed litter, manure, and other organic matter. The permanent burrows, that's what's key in this. When you till, you bust permanent burrows. They're not there anymore. They got to start over. Breaks the whole cycle. So that's why we're talking about no-till method. We want to keep these things intact. The permanent burrows of these create a microclimate gradient. That's what we're talking about. The earthworms can be found shallow or deep in their burrows, depending on the prevailing conditions. So that's why they have to have a tunnel that's 15 feet deep. Although it looks like there's no worms here, Amniothus gracilis is present, 15, 20 feet below us. As we enable the soil to hold water, to penetrate water, these worms will come up to the surface. Some of them are in little tight balls in suspended animation, actually in a cocoon state right now, because they don't have the conditions that they need to. So that gives them the ability to adapt, and they're going to sit in their tunnels wherever the environment allows them to. There's another worm that doesn't really come to the surface so much. It stays way deep down, and it's dependent upon the food that Amniothus gracilis brings back down into its zone. I'm not using those worms here, they're present though. They'll work with these other worms as well. The Amniothus gracilis will basically bring them food down there. We'll never see those worms. Those are the deep worms. They also help with erosion by fortifying the soil. When they actually lay them in the burrows, they become like a concrete inside the tunnel. So that means it literally is holding the soil together. Where if you had soil break through a floodplain and there was nothing holding it together and cementing it and allowing it to flow through it, it would break off in big chunks, thus mudslides and huge erosion that's going to go into the ocean. So not only are we creating better soil for plants to grow in, we're also stopping soil from running into the ocean and killing our reefs. So that's a huge part of it as you're looking at it holistically. So that means all the leaves fall in the fall. The worms that live there will eat all that back into the ground. So everybody raking their leaves up off their lawn works against them. They don't realize that. If you leave it there and let the worms eat it back in, yeah, it can be inconvenient, but that's what's going to keep a better yard and keep things growing. So basically, you're taking all these organic compounds and all the physical attributes that worms have thrown into the soil, and every time you till it, you do a deep tilling, you're killing it. You think you're getting better drainage, but in reality, you're killing almost 50% of your drainage. What I'm trying to get at, that is if we go into that field right there that's all got Halicoa in it right there, we have several ways we could treat that field. We could go down there, we could cut everything down and mulch over the top of it and let the worms eat it all back in. That's good stewardship right there. The roots are still holding the soil back together. By the time the worms have eaten the stuff into it, we planted new things that are going to create leaf litter and create an ecosystem. The bad way to deal with that is to go clear cut it and till it all in. What we've done is we're thinking that we're allowing it to drain better, but we're not really. We're actually destroying all the tunnels that allow for the aeration and for that to be farmed the right way. So what we're trying to get at with this is to show people that we don't have to come to a field and completely till it up and rip it up. We want to take what Mother Nature has working for us already and incorporate that with us. So what we're basically learning to do is work with Mother Nature instead of against her. And no matter what we think, when we bring a field and we plow it up and we kill everything that's been put over there for thousands of years so that we can instantly grow a crop, we can grow in synthetic nitrogen, synthetic potassium, and we can do whatever we want to it, we're not working with Mother Nature. We're working against Mother Nature. Because although you can grow food with chemicals, you cannot grow soil. And in order to grow plants, we need to grow soil. We have barren dirt right now. As I take this barren dirt and I mulch, then I'm creating a food source for the worms to come up and eat. I'm holding moisture, so I'm stabilizing the conditions for that worm to be able to thrive there and live there. I'm creating a microclimate on the surface of the ground. I'm stopping the soil from running into the ocean. I'm stopping the soil from running into the air. And so I'm creating this little system for it. And that's basically what that means. And that's what I'm trying to share. So that our whole thing that we're doing right here is we're setting the stage to build an environment where these worms can live healthy and work for us. And then we're going to constantly, whatever we do here, we're going to be aware that we're not killing the worms that are in our situation. Most of you guys are unaware of it, but every time, I don't mean you guys individually, but when you throw Miracle-Gro soil from Ace Hardware into your yard, into your garden beds, you're killing worms. When you empty your washing machine and you're using Tide or using any one of these phosphate, even though they say biodegradable, baloney. If you're dumping the stuff from your washing machine into your yard, you're killing all the worms that are being created. You're not helping them. So if you can find a way to use a cleaner soap in your washing machine, use a cleaner soap in your kitchen. Every time you hose your yard off, if you thought there was a bug and you sprayed malathion, or you didn't choose to bring it into balance by creating a healthy environment that's going to fight disease, you're working against what you have working for you. So what I'm trying to share with you guys is how to first create a climate that's symbiotic to growing things, and then also how to be a steward and nurture it and be aware of what you're doing and what you're bathing with and what you're putting in there. So I bathe with peppermint soap. I wash my clothes with peppermint soap. Not a very good example of it right now because I've been in the red dirt all day. But there's answers to all of this, and it takes a little bit of humility in some levels. What is it? Acquire more or desire less? 2 ways to wealth. It takes a little bit of us trying to understand it. And so to create this environment that not only we created it so they show up, now we have a responsibility to take care of our yards and take care of whatever it is to keep this environment thriving. And your grandchildren and your children is really what will see the difference from this when we're inheriting something that's just been destroyed by people. If you have a hard packed ground like this and you want to get a good start on it, and you already know it's been pilled and it's been compacted, it's not going to hurt to till it one time. I don't mean till it real deep, 6, 8, 10 inches. Okay, I want a farm here. I have this dirt. One way you can do it is to break it up ever so gently, add a little bit of water, add manure, add mulch, and let the worms come up and do it for you. The other way that you can do it is do just what you're doing right here. You're not really killing worms because you're just spreading it open gently. Water it, amend the soil with a nitrogen fertilizer, organic, cow manure, horse manure, bone meal, kelp meal. There's several things out there that are considered organic. You can amend the soil and you can grow stuff instantly in the soil, just about. That's like the quicker route. But if you want to actually create a worm population and go the slower route that's going to be really long term, you don't even have to break the surface up like this at all. You can start on hard soil. That's exactly what this pile was when I started. I tilled nothing. We took hard soil like this, we put a compost pile on it, and as we put the compost pile on it, I've never hit it with a pick, but watch now. And what do we have here? Amethyst gracilis. Now, I'll give you guys a real good example of what climatic changes mean. This worm has been in the hard pan. He's just worked his way out of a dry cocoon stage. You can tell by the way his body is shaped right now and where he's at, and the color of his skin. This is called Amethyst gracilis, but he's just came out of a cocoon stage because he's worked his way out of the hard pan somewhere into the soft pan. So now he's ready to do his job. And you can see as I hit the soil there how deep I went. Because what happened was, you can see this was this 3-4 months ago. As you look in it now, why is it mixed? Why is this stuff down that deep when it was always laid on the surface? Because the worms have brought it down into the soil. So now this is a really good example of not just red dirt, but you see all the darker stuff, that's organic material. That's what balances the pH. That's what allows life to live in the soil and what we have going here.